Like everyone thinks I got to have the work-life balance, but we're saying, hey, sorry, spoiler alert, it doesn't exist. So stop trying to pressure yourself into having it.
Right.
I'm Rhett.
And I'm Brandon.
And we're the house dads. Because we're dads who sell houses.
But we're also husbands, business owners, sports freaks, Christians,
friends, marketing nerds, TV show bingers, and so many more things.
Like so many of you, we're just trying to do it all, and we're trying to do it well.
And that's what we're here to talk about. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of House Dads Podcast. We're getting into the meat.
Yes, we are.
We are getting into it, finally ready to bring you some value, have actual topics in mind. You kind of learned about who we are and what we're doing. But today's topic is kind of along the theme of what we're about.
Yeah, it really is.
It's like work-life balance. You hear it from so many people, but the big question is like, does it actually exist?
Is it a real thing?
Is it a real thing?
Yeah.
So
and one thing, we've said this before in one of the first few podcasts, is that even though we're going to be bringing you content and we're going to be bringing you hopefully some insight and some wisdom, is that we don't always do it well.
No, there's oftentimes we do it terribly.
Yeah, exactly. And most recently when we talk about work-life balance, one of these examples was just last Tuesday. It just happened.
So fresh.
Really fresh.
Yeah, so
really
we're not having
fresh.
to dig into the archives for like past fails. This
No,
is
like real fresh.
Like
I'm sure that I probably could have come up with some between Tuesday and now. But, it just had a really long day at work and was working all the way to like pulling up in the driveway to where you're trying to finish up the last thing on the to-do list before you walk in. So I got into the driveway, was finishing up. I just listed a new property that day, wanted to post it on Facebook and get it out before I walked in. Mm-hmm. And it's always been a thing of mine, once I had a family of my own, even before I had a family of my own, I always had that desire that when I got home, I wanted them to see me at my best. Right. I didn't want them to see Dad come home defeated and stressed out and like, oh, well, y'all just go away, give me 30 minutes of myself. No, I want to walk in the door and be up. Yeah. Right? And so I'm like, all right, I'm ready. I'm going in.
Bumping yourself up?
Yeah, I go inside, Max and Lucas, Daddy's home and all that good stuff. And Max's favorite thing is to play superheroes. Okay. He's like, Dad, you want to play superheroes? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. 10, 15 minutes.
What does that involve, superheroes?
Naturally, I'm always the Hulk.
Okay.
And so
naturally.
Max is Spider-Man. Lucas is Captain America. We take all the pillows, all the cushions off the couch, much to Mom's chagrin, but it's part of it.
Tear the house apart.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. And we just wrestle, play superheroes.
Yeah, just like the Marvel movies. They literally tear the city apart.
Exactly like that. We just tear the house apart.
Sorry, Courtney.
And so we get into it about a minute in. Didn't even get the chance to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. It rings, not just once. I'm like, let me ignore the first one, and then it rings again. I'm like, who is this real quick? I check. I realized that I didn't put the proper documents in with the listing. I forgot to upload the property disclosures. Pulled up the property disclosures. I look, and I see that they're filled out incorrectly in a spot.
Gosh. So, and you're live at this point.
Yeah, 100%. It's active.
Time, you're feeling a little urgent.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the first night. I knew it would probably go quick. It was just a really good property. And the mistake that we had on it was it was my fault. I overlooked it, just kind of did some things in haste. And so when I went to get that corrected, I got another call immediately about a showing request. And my clients had told me that they couldn't do any showings that particular night. They were fostering puppies and all this stuff. All that to say, long story short, fostering puppies, craziness.
Yeah,
but
seriously.
Long story short, it went from I'm going to play superheroes with the boys and just kind of I'm done with work for the day.
Right.
Where it went from I got home at 6, bath time's at 7 to 15, and from 6 to 7:15, all I did was work. And then it was, hey boys, it's time to take a bath, and Max asking, so we're not going to play superheroes. Yeah. So it's not always a success.
No, and it cuts deep when you're like you think you've dropped the ball.
It does.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that like kind of goes into, obviously the topic of work-life balance, especially in our industry of real estate. Right. Often people can't do or communicate anything until after work. Right. And like we're big on like, hey, we want to be at home with our families after work. So we try our best to have the work-life balance. And like, the big question out there is, does it exist? No matter if you're real estate, whatever industry you're in, are you able to balance home life and work life? So kind of getting into that, we found an article on Thrive magazine. I don't know if you ever heard of Jeff Bezos.
Have you never heard of him.
I haven't either, but this article says something about him. No, it's funny because I follow these motivational, Instagram accounts, and they always quote Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. I'm like, why don't you get some.
Like, just come off of the meme a little
normal
bit.
people out
and
there.
And here we are, starting with Jeff Bezos.
Exactly. So we're not trying to give into that as well. But
yeah.
obviously, he's a very successful person. He is someone who has 24 hours in the day, just like you and I.
Right.
So a lot of people compare, I don't have enough time to do this. And, this person, whatever. Jeff Bezos is one of the most popular people out there. But he, or successful, should I say. He has, the article kind of says he explains the approach of the idea of work-life balance. He says, I think work-life harmony is a good framework. He prefers the word harmony to the word balance because balance tends to imply a strict trade-off.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. And if I don't want you to cut off here, but if I had to simply answer the question, work-life balance, does it exist? I think what Bezos is saying here and what I would say is no.
Yeah.
Because it isn't a balance.
Yeah.
Right? Because if we think about the word balance, then what it does is it creates a trade-off.
Right.
Is to get something, you have to give something else up.
Right.
And so there's this unimaginable or it's like this unaccomplishable goal where you have this perfect balance of enough of this thing to be able to trade off of this thing. And, at jobs that I worked before I got into real estate, they always talked about quality of life, and it came down to two things. It came down to the amount of money you had versus the amount of time that you had. Yep. And if you had more time and you had more money, then you had the type of quality of life that you want. But one of the things we mentioned about why we started this podcast is for both of us, we agree that time is more valuable than money.
Right.
But we could have all the time in the world, and if we don't have the money to actually use when we have that time, say, hey, we want a little bit of that too.
Exactly.
Not even, I want to be successful. I want to do that for my family and for the dreams and desires that God placed in my heart. But the thing is what is enough time and what is enough money?
Right.
It's this unimaginable, it's this unaccomplishable goal. And so is a work-life balance achievable? I'd say no. And that's where I get that Jeff Bezos is saying that I prefer the word harmony over balance.
I like that as well. Especially like when you think of balance, you think of two things, right? Work and life. And work, you can almost put that into one category, but like life, you got marriage, you got parenting, you got hobbies, relationships with friends. There's a lot more to that. So trying to keep that separate from there's just so many things tugging and pulling.
Exactly.
But going back to your question on how much is enough time, how much is enough money, I would venture to say it's kind of up to the person to
100%.
Yeah,
I'd agree. And that's a perfect point too, because I think about work-life balance. You think about two things, and I think about that old school scale. And I think about it, I guess, like the judicial system.
That's exactly what I think about.
Everybody pictures that scale, that gold scale, and it's just got two platforms.
Right.
And so when we think about life, it's not work-life balance. Well, if we just put work in this one category, the life side of it has 65 different
pretty heavy
outliers, right? So how could it possibly balance?
Yeah. So I think it's kind of up to the person to figure out, what's enough time. What's enough money? What do you want to do with your time?
Exactly.
What do you want to do with your money?
Exactly. And I think that most people's approach so if we kind of all get on the same page that maybe a work-life balance is not accomplishable, that work-life harmony, if you will, most people's approach to accomplishing it is strictly time management. Yeah. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about here. And I think that's something that you do really well. It's something that I do well and most successful people do. But more than time management, I just don't think it's time management alone. It's mind management.
Mind management.
That's a cool little term. Yeah, I got to say, I haven't read that one in the book. It's something that I'm
trademark.
There's nothing new under the sun. I'm sure somebody said it. I don't want to say that.
We don't know it yet. So trademark by Brandon.
Yeah, but I think mind management's more important.
Yeah.
It's like it goes to the old saying that, Courtney and I are about to get on a flight tomorrow, but the first thing, I've never flown with my boys yet. Have you flown with your girls?
No, we're putting that off as far off as we can.
I'm not ready to fly with the boys. That's why we drove to Disney.
Yes, exactly. People were like, you're driving to Disney? You're like, yeah, we're not putting
Have
those,
you met
those
my
girls
children? Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. But Courtney and I get on a flight tomorrow, but I can imagine that when the stewardess comes out, like they always used to, or like they always do, they say, hey, if oxygen becomes limited in the airplane or whatever, put the mask on yourself before helping anybody else.
Right.
Man, if I'm sitting next to my boys, that's a hard thing for me to do. I'm going to want to put mask on them, but the reason they tell you that is because if you can't breathe, you can't help anybody else.
Right.
So I think you can have every time management attribute and plan and procedure and all those things in place. But if your mind's not in order, the other stuff doesn't matter. Yeah.
Mindset is a huge thing. That's a huge topic in the realm of how to be successful. Right. And it can often be overlooked because it seems, I don't know, and talks about it different, like what they do to have a healthy mind or whatnot. So it's easy to think it's kind of just this hocus pocus thing. That's just kind of corny, whatever. But no,
it's everything. And that's what, so I came up with these 5 deals, 5 P's. That's very pastoral.
5 P's.
Yeah, you like that? Like I try and,
5 P's of mind management.
Remember, if you're taking notes, here it is. But so it's all going to start with the P. And the first thing that I think is most important is praise. Right. And for me, you know that my faith is important to me, but regardless of what it is for you, it goes back to mind management before you get into time management. Because I believe that every good and perfect gift comes from above. And so I'm to be a good steward of the things that God has given me. And if I am not right on the inside, like we've all had those days, we've all had those seasons in our lives where you're trying to do everything the best way that you feel like you can.
Right.
But still, at the end of the day, you feel like you don't have anything accomplished. You feel like it was just, like you were just trudging through mud. Right? Because you just weren't right on the inside. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I really start, is just praising God for everything He's given me, the abilities and the talents and like just the opportunities, my family, our friends and things like that. It's like, okay, starting in praise. And then second, it leads to prioritizing. And I really want to hear some of your thoughts on this. Like that's obviously something we're going to get into a little bit more too, but that balance is like it really comes down to your expectations, like what is most important to you. Right. But prioritizing those most important things is a key to be able to time manage. Yeah. You can't bite. What does it say about the elephant deal? You ever heard
How do you
this
eat an elephant?
Yeah, one bite at a time.
One bite at a time, baby.
Right, but you got to start with. They say start with like the worst part first. Yeah. Or start with the most important thing first. Yeah. Right, the thing that's at the top of the list. What I do is every night, okay, usually before I get home. A lot of times this happens in my driveway if it's like, a busy afternoon with showings or whatnot. Mm-hmm. But either the night that, like as I'm getting home in the driveway or when it's leaving the office, if I know that I'm going to go straight home and I don't have any work to do, what I'm going to do is already go ahead and prioritize and plan the day ahead. Right. It's always that next day, because if I wake up the next day and I don't have a plan, and if I don't prioritize what has to happen first, then it's going to be constantly chasing from behind the entire day. Yeah. You do something like that too? When it comes to
absolutely. So it's like you're scattered. Yep. You're you don't have something to, like if you go to the office, like I know I need to get to the office, or I know I need to go to this place. When you get there, you're like, all right, what do I do? So the planning is obviously what sets you up to not waste the time to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. So prioritizing what's most important first, and then that exactly goes into the third P, like you said, planning. Mm-hmm. And the prioritizing has to become before the plan, because if you plan the wrong things first, then you never get to what's most important. Yeah. Right. So you have to prioritize things, and then it goes to the plan. Right. And then the plan builds off of that to the fourth P, and that's your procedures. That's your systems. Because I think that initially, like I'll never forget, the first 2 years of real estate or just being self-employed and working for myself, was that I could do the first few things well, but I didn't have the procedures and systems in place. Yeah. So I would still be working endlessly, right? But I wasn't efficiently working. Yeah. So some of that's got to be learned, and some of that can be obviously gained from other people and things like that. But having the right procedures and systems in place makes sure that the time that you're actually investing is efficient.
Yeah, and I think the procedures and systems like that, it's overwhelming, or not overwhelming, but you almost seem like in the beginning it's not needed because you don't have too much to do. You're like, all right, I'm new, I don't have too much on my plate. But you want to set that precedent before, like you don't wait until you're busy and overwhelmed to then put procedures in place, right? So no matter what level of your career that you're in, start those systems and those procedures early to build the habits, right? So it doesn't feel so overwhelming.
That's a great point. I think that regardless if it's real estate or any other career that you're in, it's easy to say that, oh, well, those systems and procedures will come. But like you just said, what's going to end up happening is if you wait till you're busy to develop good systems and procedures, then when you get busy, you're going to lose clients. You're going to have things slip through the cracks. You're not going to provide excellent service because you don't have the systems in place.
It's like the things that helped you become successful in the first place start falling through the cracks because you're not, having those systems.
Exactly.
It's ironic.
Yeah, it's kind of I wouldn't say it's fake it before you make it. It's just kind of like setting yourself to actually make it. Right. Is to start even before you are busy, develop the proper systems, develop the proper follow-up and feedback that you need to receive, and all those different things do that early on, even when you feel like you don't need it,
right.
so that when it gets to that point, then you just have flawless systems and you can move through things.
Love it. Makes sense.
Yeah. And then the last thing, it's really kind of a cheat because it's the same thing I said first, but it's just ending where you started and continuing to manage your mind.
Yeah.
And I think it's, again, just to kind of reprioritize your focus and where you're at, because at the end of a long day or at the end of a long week or the end of a long year or whatever it is that like, man, we can look back and say, oh, look at the stats of the things that I accomplished, or look how much money I made, or look at how many deals I closed and things like that. But having the proper perspective and the right mindset is going to help you from burning out and actually being able to say like, okay, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yeah. It's funny because you hear so much with people that like talk about a daily routine, and you should always start with, getting your mind in the right position, but no one ever talks about the end of the day. Right? Yeah. The end of the day is just it's a praise sandwich. You got the beginning and the end. Like you just want to have some sort of thankful, grateful heart, great mindset at the beginning and the end. Yeah. I think going to bed thankful and doing that same routine is like, it's clutch.
Practically speaking, what do you and Brandy like to do at night? Like what's y'all's chill, shut off? Everybody likes those just like shut off your mind kind of deal. Yeah. At the end of the night, stuff like that, once you get the kids down.
So we, of course, we're in the stage of little kids. So I say little kids, toddlers. So basically they go to bed somewhere in the realm of like 7:30ish.
Yeah, it's pretty good. That's better than us.
Yeah, and so we go to bed. Well, Brandy loves to kind of lounge. She takes like 16 baths a day. Sorry, Brandy. I'm going to put you out in the open, and I think every wife does that.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, she'll do that. And we kind of just have like 7:30 to 10 to just like, that's our time to do what's needed. So it kind of looks different every night. We love to probably frowned upon in the parenting, but like we eat dinner ourselves. Like the kids eat dinner at like 5:30, 6, and then we eat dinner after they go to sleep. That's that way we can like actually enjoy it, enjoy the meal, talk and stuff like that. So for Brandy, it's taking her 16th bath of the day. I've been getting into movies lately. At the end of the day.
I saw La La Land.
Shout out La La Land. Looking for some other great movies as well. If you want to drop them in the comments.
I tried. What is it? Everything.
I've heard the suggestion.
You know what I'm talking
Everything
about?
Everywhere.
All at once. Something like that.
Yeah.
I tried that and it was about 15 minutes in. I was like, what?
You're like, no.
Watching? I don't think I'm artistic enough. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. So it's basically just turning my mind off. You know, I've tried the routine of like, I'm going to read at the end of the day. It feels more like a chore than it does like education wise. So I've just been doing something for us, whatever helps us kind of just detox from the day.
Man, it's very similar to us. We watch a lot of trash TV, man. Some reality shows. Courtney will turn on like reality shows that involve real estate. Yeah. I'm like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah,
because then my mind goes exactly back into work. So anyway, the 5 P's.
Well, I want to add a P.
Please.
Is that okay?
Oh,
totally derail your now we're talking about P's.
We'll go 6. Please.
I don't even know where you'd put this, but I would say protect.
Oh,
so you want to protect this schedule. You want to protect this outline. So, in our industry, oh gosh, another P, prospecting. So many P's in this world. But you want to do the things that are going to drive your business forward or your whatever you want to move in the needle. And you want to protect that time. If it's something every single day, you want to protect that time. So if something tries to just totally mess your schedule up, you have to, have the discipline to protect that time. Yeah. Protect the time in the morning to get your mind right. Yeah. Protect your priorities. Yeah. Priorities. That was very enunciated. And protect the plan. So all that stuff. You just want to really protect the schedule and not let it get messed up.
I think that's important as an overlapping quality of all of this. Yeah. And I think that goes a lot into time management with like time blocking. You and I have talked about how detailed or how specific we do that before. That's a part of my prioritizing and planning. And maybe I could elaborate on that a little bit. Is what I do when I start to prioritize my day for the next day is, as a broker and as a manager and whatnot, I'll have to look at the course of my day. And my agents know this, is that there may be a period where my phone may be on do not disturb, or it may be, I'm not going to pick up the phone right away. It may be 5 or 10 minutes before I return your call, because I have to put out the fires on my own transactions, or I have to just be working on prospecting and creating new things, or we're sitting here and filming a podcast that I'm not going to be able to pick up the phone
like we have our phones and do not disturb. Exactly.
We're protecting this time. And so there's going to be those moments where it's like, if we were trying to put out all those fires as soon as they showed up, then we would never get anything accomplished.
Yeah.
And so when I start to prioritize and plan out my day, well, during this time, this is all that I'm going to do.
Right.
Because I know if I would allow anything to penetrate into that different time, then it would just never actually be efficient.
Absolutely.
That's good. I'm glad you added that protect.
6 P's.
6 P's.
Sorry.
Yep. So praise, prioritize, plan, procedures, praise again, and then protect. Protects the whole thing.
Protect it.
So in closing, and this may take a few minutes to get through, but, I think these are some things that you and I put together about some myths of the pursuit of the work-life balance. In the first is that your life needs to be compartmentalized.
Right.
I mean, you'd agree that is a myth, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it kind of goes back to what we talked to our friend Jeff Bezos, friend of the show, said it's not really, it's harmony, everything working together, right? Not necessarily sectioning off. Here, work's here, life's here. It's kind of can't compartmentalize.
Exactly. Yeah, and I always think of the example like spinning plates. Like I feel like I have these long stacks of plates, and then what it is that there are different seasons that I feel like some of the different areas of my life are going to have more attention and more time devoted to it than others. And I've got to be okay with that. Mm-hmm. And it's going to lead us to our next one. But like there's different seasons of my life where the business is going to maybe get a little bit more attention than others. And there's going to be, we went through a massive change in our business back in November. Mm-hmm. And when we went through that change, Courtney and my family knew that it was going to be longer nights for me. It was going to be a little bit more time at work because it needed my attention. And then in December, when a lot of the dust settled there, I was able to come back away from work and say, no, this is going to get a lot more of my attention. So when I have those plates and I'm balancing, I feel like in November, I would go to that work plate and just spin it, get that spinning really fast so that then I could kind of back away and say, you know what, now I'm going to go to the family plate and spin it and spin it and spin it and spin it and really spend that time doing it there.
It's exhausting, but
it is.
It sounds tiring, but yes, it's worth it to do that.
It is. Yeah.
I think the next myth we talked about was that you can have it all. You can have it all.
That is a myth.
So, yeah, that's not true.
Yeah, you really can't have it all. It's something we've kind of already hit on and talked about was that like you have to prioritize and really think about what is most important to you. Mm-hmm. And I think that, that's what makes it different about you and I is that, we do have a lot of business pursuits and we want to help a lot of people in what we do. But we don't want to forsake other things that are important to us, just chasing something. Yeah.
But I think the perception is that you can have it all. If you want to go the comparison route of looking at what other people are doing, you don't ever know what's going on behind the scenes, 100%. Right? Obviously, people are just kind of putting their highlights, their hot spots online for you to see. And you think, wow, they got it all. They got the good family, they got this. I can almost promise you they don't.
Yeah, exactly.
To some degree.
No, 100%.
I'm not saying they're not. I don't want to judge someone else's happiness and whatnot and compare, but we can't look at other people's lives and assume, I think I can have everything that I want.
Right. Yeah.
Limited amount. Again, I think it's encouraging. I would take it as encouraging because it takes the pressure off, right? Like everyone thinks I got to have the work-life balance, but we're saying, hey, sorry, spoiler alert, doesn't exist. So stop trying to pressure yourself into having it.
Right.
It exists in the sense of harmony, not balance.
Not balance. Yeah. Yeah. And so this last myth, and man, I can get a big amen from all the realtors out there. This is 100% a myth that technology will give you more free time.
Yeah.
I think
this could be a whole nother episode.
Oh, 100%. I think so too. And I think back like specifically in real estate, but any kind of sales or anything where you need signatures, I'm like, how did they do it before? With the amount of documents that I send for electronic signature. It's like, man, technology is awesome. Yeah. But then at the same time, you're always reachable. Yeah. How many times do we actually look into it? I read a stat the other day that I forget what college did it. I guess I got to go.
Harvard or something.
Something like that. One of the Ivy schools or something like that. Probably Southeastern. But I read a stat the other day that on a daily basis, adults take in over 100,000 words a day. Okay, and that's not just like listening. That's just like by watching or whatever different is. And they said that 100,000 words is bigger than the Odyssey.
Oof.
Yeah, so like every single day we're taking in that much stimulus. And before technology, we never had that. Yeah. And so technology does not equal free time.
Yeah, I wish I would have pulled some stats, but if you can see behind me the stack of books, one of my favorite books is called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer, and they kind of give stats on how reliant we are on technology, but how technology started with freeing up more of our time. Hey, we can now do this, and it frees you up so much more time. The problem is we're filling that time with more busy stuff without using the time efficiently. So, but yeah, I think one of this, I'd have to look and see how many times that like the average person opens their phone, picks up their phone. The iPhone is like, obviously it's a blessing for business and communication, but man,
yeah, it's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. And that's why it's so important to praise, prioritize, plan, procedures, praise, and protect. Protecting is huge there. It's like you have to be able to protect yourself, how much you take in, how much you give out, and especially as realtors and in everything, everybody wants you immediately because of how they can access you.
Yeah. Which we can blame Jeff Bezos for that. The Amazon, man, he's giving everybody what they want so soon. It's like, hey, we want that for your life too.
And we want it now.
It's funny. Shout out, Jeff. We love you, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else to add? I think we're kind of wrapping up on time here. We hope this encouraged you more than discouraged you. I think we're all trying to do this together and have a harmony of our work and the theme is to have successful all areas of our life and just kind of have that harmonious. So we appreciate you guys watching or listening. We are on YouTube if you were just listening. So going over to YouTube, we just filmed the YouTube trailer for it. Knocked it out in one try. Amen. Shout out.
That's right.
But yeah, let us know any feedback, any topics you want to hear in the future. And as always, thanks for listening.